But as we sit on the eve of MLB free agency, we're also in the day after effects of the NFL trade deadline. And before we get to the Giants and the fight that is ensuing between Giant fans on who sucks more at their job, Ryan Dable and Joe Shane, I do want to tell you, with 24 hours now, I have some new thoughts as a Jet fan. And I would like to spread them to you, Tiki.
Go ahead, let's hear them.
You can slap me on the back of the head or say, that's smart.
Are these not celebratory, happy thoughts? Or are they still agitated, aggrieved thoughts?
No. It's opportunistic thoughts. So where I'm at right now is the Jets did what they did. Obviously, they received an offer for Sauce Gardner they could not say no to. I understand why they made the trade. I think they should have made the trade. Once you do that, you get a first-round pick for Quinnen Williams. You have to make that trade. So I am in the acceptance part of what the Jets did. I am not celebrating. I'm not saying, yay, this is glorious. I heard BT, I was talking with between shows, and BT said this is the happiest he's been since Rodgers ran through the tunnel. I don't share that view. I understand it. He's an optimistic guy. He sees the potential. I just don't share that belief. It is just still sad that the Jets were forced to do this. But now I've got a clear head, and I have some thoughts.
Yes, let's hear it.
The veteran quarterback. Let me start there. The New York Jets are now positioned, if they want, if a veteran star quarterback becomes available for a variety of reasons. Either they demand a trade, either the team doesn't want to pay them, either the team says, you know what, we've hit a wall, let's hit the reset button. The New York Jets are now primed to acquire any top-level quarterback that becomes available.
Right.
And there are a few names that just jump out at me I'd like to throw out there.
You're talking now free agency and maybe even the draft.
I'm talking about the trade market. I'm not even talking about, because I don't think great quarterbacks ever really get to free agency.
So you want to do that now?
No. I'm talking about opportunities, whether it's this offseason or next offseason.
I mean, like in the offseason.
Yeah, because they're loaded with draft picks. And when you're loaded with draft picks, there's a couple of ways you can go with it.
Right.
A, you can use them. B, you can package them together to move up for the quarterback you love. And what I'm at least thinking about, I'm just like having an open conversation.
Right, I hear you.
Is there are certain veteran elite level quarterbacks or borderline elite level quarterbacks that I can paint a scenario where they become available. And I'm telling you that the New York Jets are better equipped to acquire them than anybody else. Let's get to the obvious one. Joe Burrow.
Right.
Let's just start right there. If the Cincinnati Bengals, who score 1 million points, have all these great weapons on offense that they paid a crap ton of money to, but can't stop a nosebleed, and Joe Burrow is starting to prove he's injury prone, is it possible that the Cincinnati Bengals wake up during the offseason and say, you know what, we could start over? We love this kid in the draft. The Jets have every pick in the world. We've got amazing weapons for this young quarterback, and also we can use part of that booty of draft capital we got to rebuild our defense. Is it possible that the Bengals become more open to trading Joe Burrow? I think I can paint the scenario where that happens.
The only way I see that happening is if the Cincinnati Bengals feel like Zach Taylor is the right coach to lead them now and way into the future. Because if you let him draft another quarterback with all of the assets that they have, skill position players, we talked about them yesterday, all those that trio of really good wide receivers, if you allow them to draft a new quarterback, you have to trust Zach to take him through to the end. So Zach Taylor's going to be there for another 4 or 5 years.
Probably so.
So if that's the case, then Joe Burrow is an interesting trading option for whoever would think to acquire him.
Especially, Cheek, because I think whenever Joe Burrow's name has been brought up, it's usually been presented as Joe Burrow will wake up and demand a trade. I'm actually presenting it in the opposite direction,
right,
where the Bengals say, hey, we're scoring 35 points a game without him. Joe Flacco's been producing. He's 29 years old, and he's already had 8 injuries since he's entered the league. 8.
Is this it that bad?
Oh, no, it's true. Would the Bengals say to themselves, he's a wonderful player, but he's injury prone, and if we could get you've heard this term before, a godfather-like offer where we can not only draft his replacement, who's going to make a lot less money, and then rebuild our defense with a booty of picks, I'm not saying they're going to do it, but the way I present it, you can at least admit, wow, that sort of makes sense.
Okay, so let me ask you then this question, because that side is interesting. The Cincinnati Bengals side, what their decision would be. If you're the Jets, do you want that?
Yes.
You want Joe Burrow, who's injury prone?
Yes.
Who could come here with I'm not going to put the jinx on it, the Aaron Rodgers potential.
No, come
meaning,
on. He's 29.
I know that, but he's injury prone.
I agree. Yeah.
Come be our savior. Come take our program, our team to the next level, and then he gets hurt, and you're just left there holding you know what?
Yes.
That doesn't make any sense.
Would you rather take the risk of a 29-year-old who has shown us when he's on the field, he has the it factor?
Yes.
He is the exact personality and the kind of guy that can change everything about the New York Jets. Would I take that risk as opposed to drafting one who could be great, may not be great? Yeah, I would absolutely cash it in for Joe Burrow. To me, it's easy.
Yeah.
I get the risk. Like, I'm being fair in laying out why the Bengals could wake up one day and make that decision, and those are the same things the Jets would have to think about. But yes. And the Jets are equipped to do that because they have 3 first-round picks in 2027 and 2 first-round picks in 2026. But that's just one name. I've got others.
Yeah.
Now, I think Joe Burrow is the most appealing one. So I mention him first because he's the headline. I think he's the guy that most Jet fans listening right now would say, absolutely. He's 29 years old. He's got that big balls personality. Right. Unload the draft picks. Bring him in.
He's just been hurt a lot, but the positive is his base salary is not that high. It's very low, actually.
He also led the Cincinnati Bengals to the Super Bowl. Like that. That's enough. Stop the count.
Right. What era is it? Is it the 80s still?
No.
90s? So Chris Collinsworth on that team? What's going on here?
I know that Colin Cowherd had mentioned a year ago or two, hey, I could see Joe Burrow demanding a trade. I don't present it in that regard. I present it in the Bengals waking up one day, especially after a season in which they're scoring plenty of points, but they're 32nd in defense, and they've paid a lot of money to huge skill position players, and Joe Burrow's hurt again, where they say, you know what, let's see what we could get for this guy, especially if, let's say they love Fernando Mendoza, and the Jets are able to offer them a top pick. Like, I think that's a scenario that could happen. I'll never forget many years ago, the Rams and the Steelers talked about a Ben Roethlisberger trade for the number 1 overall pick that would have been Sam Bradford. I think if you have the keys to the future quarterback, it opens up the possibility that a team would say, you know what, we get to reset the clock on the finances, we get a young quarterback, and oh, by the way, we get more picks along with it.
I just think about the New York Jets. From the New York Jets perspective, wouldn't you rather take your shot at getting a young player? I know why you want to get the veteran, because when you have your veteran quarterback, the established QB who has leadership, who has the ability to affect and change games and win games, really with just his arm and his acumen, it's enticing. But it feels artificial. You know, it doesn't necessarily feel like is it sustainable? Now, with that being said, this is exactly what happened with Kerry Collins.
I was about to say his name. I was letting you finish, but yes.
When the Giants, I don't know if they were drafting whatever. They had a bunch of quarterbacks who just didn't work out. Dave Brown, Danny Cannell, Kent Graham, et cetera, et cetera. You know the names. And then we acquired Kent Graham. We acquired Kerry Collins. And almost immediately, it felt exactly what you're describing. We had good talent. We needed to accent it a little bit more. We had a good offensive line. It was aging. We needed to turn that over a little bit. But immediately, we got good and went to a Super Bowl. And if the whole Eli thing wouldn't have happened, who knows what Kerry Collins' career would have been here.
Right.
It could have been here for another 5 or 6 years. But it worked with the Giants. So interestingly, even though I'm pushing back on you, I've seen this work.
Yeah, I think it takes a special guy. So I have a list of other veteran quarterbacks that I can create a scenario where they become available. Mm-hmm. This is the one that would appeal to me the most. This is the one. He's still in his prime. He's relatively young, especially for the position he plays. He's already done it by leading the Bengals to a Super Bowl. He would be the guy, no questions asked, when you asked me, would you trade a bunch of first-round picks for him? Yes. Right. Now, I'll give you a few others. Dak Prescott. Like, can I see a scenario where a year from now, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys say, we got to start over? Absolutely. I hesitate on that because I don't think Dak Prescott is necessarily that answer. I don't think he's that guy. And to give up a surplus of first-round picks and have to pay that kind of money, that's not as appealing to me.
Right.
Can I give you another name?
Go ahead.
Kyler Murray is clearly going to be available.
That one's interesting.
Do you bring in Kyler Murray? It's not even going to cost you a booty of first-round picks, but now you can use your first-round picks on everything but the quarterback, and you've got a young quarterback to build around.
But do you trust Kyler Murray? That's the big question. I think both the only reason these two guys that you've now mentioned are available is because there are question marks surrounding them. Obviously, Joe Burrow, it's health. Kyler Murray, it's somewhat health, but not really. It's more, is he that kind of leader that's going to pick up a young franchise and put him on its back and say, let's go. I know how to get us to the promised land. And that's a question mark that we don't know until you see it. So Kyler is interesting because in person, I really like the guy. But there's just something inconsistent about him that worries me a little bit.
He's also the kind of guy that I think just needs another franchise, another team to kind of... The appealing part of Kyler Murray, by the way, is that I'm not going to have to give up the Godfather package.
Yeah.
So I'd be able to bring in the quarterback, answer that question, and still have my booty of picks to add another top wide receiver, to add an edge pass rusher, to replace Sauce Gardner, even though they think they internally have it with A.Z. Thomas. So... That's the appeal of him. I'll give you two really out-of-the-box ideas. Yeah. And when I say their names, your eyes are going to roll and say they're not available. But you got to get creative. You got to think about how things could look a year from now.
Let me see.
C.J. Stroud. If the Houston Texans
Why would they do that?
Why? If they you got to make a decision, Teak, on paying guys. And the appeal of drafting a quarterback, I've heard this over the last 24 hours. Well, the appeal is you're not going to pay a quarterback. I've heard you say that, Sean, about Jackson Dart. You don't have to pay a quarterback.
Right. You got 4 more years before you have to really pay him.
So if a team is offering you a cavalcade of picks or a pick specifically aligned with a young quarterback that you like in this draft, does it not make sense to say, wow, I can start the clock over, get a young quarterback that I also love, and move on? So if the Texans underachieve, could CJ... I'll give you another one. Oh, boy, Al Cintron better not be listening. Jaden Daniels. He's already starting to get beat up a little bit. He's already starting to have some injuries. You're already starting to hear Commander fans whisper RG3.
Right. Well, that's because RG3 is starting to say things about protecting the young quarterback.
Maybe.
Because of what they did, not him, but not this staff, or not even really. It's a completely different organization because the owner's different and everything else. But it feels very similar. Let the young kid run, be an athlete, be reckless in moments, and now look at him.
Absolutely. Now,
jacked up knee, hamstring, whatever the heck it was, and now he's got a dislocated elbow, thankfully non-throwing arm, but it feels very similar.
And I'll give you the big one. I saved the big one for end because Joe Burrow has been out there. I'm not splitting any atoms by saying him. Here's the other one. Because if you're going to trade a young franchise quarterback for a bevy of draft picks, you need to have a decider who's got guts, a decider who can do it, look you straight in the eye and say, here's why I'm doing it. Justin Herbert. With Jim Harbaugh.
No chance.
How much do they underachieve year after year?
Yeah, but there's no chance that happens.
No way?
No chance. I think Jim Harbaugh is in love and infatuated with Justin Herbert.
Will he be in love and infatuated if the Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego underachieve again? If, let's say, right now they're 6-3, all is right with the world, what if they miss the playoffs? What if all of a sudden Jim Harbaugh is faced with the opportunity to recoup everything? Meanwhile, what has Justin Herbert won? He's getting older. They've never gotten out of the first round. They've made the playoffs twice with him as quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm laying it. Here's the thing I want you to understand before you get, because Sean's about to yell at me.
No, I actually think I have a much better one, but go ahead.
Go ahead. Let me just say this. A part of what I was thinking about last night and this morning is that these are the new opportunities that have been created. Now, I acknowledge that a lot of the names I mentioned may never get moved. But the beauty of sports is that sometimes star players become available when you least expect it. We always usually wait for that in the NBA.
Yeah.
And the way to be ready to get those star players is by having the equipment to acquire them. That's draft capital. What the New York Jets did yesterday, as much as it disappointed me in the moment, is they are more equipped than any team in the sport to acquire a guy who we don't yet think about being available. So is it likelier than not that Darren Muji dives headfirst into the draft in 2026 to find his quarterback? Of course. Or even 2027? Of course. But if any of the names I just mentioned became available, the New York Jets are at the top of the list. And I didn't even include one other name, but I don't want to say it in case that's Sean's idea, because I wouldn't want to steal it from him. So I've named a bunch of young, in their prime quarterbacks that can somehow become available. Who have I missed?
Jalen Hurts.
I knew you were going to say it.
Now here, can I make my case?
Why?
Okay. Before anybody yells...
Why would Philly do that?
Great question. And before anybody yells and screams, I will rattle off every point why, and then you could kill the whole point.
All right, go ahead.
All right. Clearly, we know the positives. Super Bowl winning quarterback, team loves him, everything. Let's start with Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman is a genius as far as getting out of guys before it's too late, keeping the train moving. They have a young quarterback in Tanner McKee that they refuse to move this offseason that they seem to look a lot.
Yeah.
There is a rule in place in football that benefits Jalen Hurts that we know is not going to exist in football next year, and he has taken a beating on that. And this is an up-and-down passing game where we can't tell what receivers are happy every other week. If this team that's already won a Super Bowl falls short this year with all the money that they've pushed down the line, including with Jalen Hurts, could they look to get out, get one of these Jets first-round picks, and believe in Tanner McKee enough to keep the good times rolling in Philadelphia?
So it's only interesting because of you referenced the Tanner McKee.
That's why. They have an I'm not saying it's the answer, but
I really like Tanner McKee. Not as much as I like Joe Milton.
What happened to Joe Milton?
Well, he's kind of like lost now.
He's lost at sea.
You're right. But Tanner McKee was really good. He played in one game last year.
Yep.
It was against the Giants, a game I called.
So, Sean,
he was really damn good.
This isn't Tanner McKee related, but it's funny that you mentioned Jalen Hurts. I remember every piece of audio I cut. And one of the clips I cut less than a month ago after you guys beat the Philadelphia Eagles was this cut from Joe Giglio on WIP in Philadelphia. Take a listen.
If Jalen Hurts plays this way the rest of the season, they're drafting a quarterback. There's just no doubt in my mind.
So he's already down enough to say, if we're drafting a quarterback, we can give you a first-round pick.
But
there you go.
There's no way they're drafting a quarterback.
What was that?
Tanner McKee he's not a first-round quarterback, but he is a very good quarterback.
No, you know what the Eagles do, Tiki, in a situation like that? Again, this is totally hypothetical. They elevate Tanner McKee, who they like a lot, and then what the Eagles do, because they play chess above everything else, they go to their third-round pick, and they take a guy who's out for the year and out of eligibility in Drew Allar and draft him and rehab him for 2 years, and if McKee doesn't work out, that's their quarterback. That's how the Philadelphia Eagles run an organization.
No, you're probably right.
And here's the reality.
He's going to be a good quarterback if he gets healthy and he's right and he lands in the correct spot. If Philly would be a correct spot for him because he doesn't have to play.
And here's the truth about all of this. None of the quarterbacks we just mentioned over the last 20 minutes are actually available today. But they could be available in February.
Well, they are when you have 6 first-round draft picks in the next 3 years.
That is the point, ladies and gentlemen. The Jets are equipped to do something like this. Does it mean they should? Does it mean they will? Does it mean all of these guys or some of these guys are going to be available? Or are we even missing somebody? Are we actually being naive to maybe there's someone else we're not even talking about that becomes available? Like Andy Reid says, I'm done with Patrick Mahomes. I'm just kidding. But that's the new world that we live in. The Jets are equipped to do that. If a star quarterback mysteriously becomes available, whether it's them demanding a trade, whether it's the franchise realizing they need a reset button, the New York Jets are now ahead of the line. And so we are living in a brand new world. Is it still depressing that the Jets will likely win maybe 1 or 2 more games the rest of the season? Is it depressing that they drafted smartly years ago in drafting Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, and then for the betterment of the organization needed to trade them before they ever won a damn thing? Yes, it's sad. But this has created a brand new opportunity for Darren Muji. We'll get to your calls next at 888-808-1019. Plus, Aaron Glenn responds to the moves being made, and he says something that would make every politician who made their victory speech last night embarrassed by the absolute flip-flop that Aaron Glenn offered earlier today to